How are you doing? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
Thank you so much for like the super short notice.
Oh, I was super excited. I love podcasts.
Like,
I've been on a few of them.
yeah, I need to listen to them. Send me all the links, but also just like this people in lockdown. I figured would need more content.
Yeah,
So
for
hope
sure.
hopefully the six people that listen to this podcast will listen to it, and then maybe it'll become seven after.
Yeah.
All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Fun Shoot podcast where I talk to my cool friends that does cool things about their coolness with the things that they do. Housekeeping before we run through our very cool and special guest this day. Uh, the Fun Shoot podcast is an irregularly scheduled podcast, so just catch us on the social medias for new episodes, and hopefully you will subscribe to Fun Shoot podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your favorite podcasting applications. Without further ado, today we have here we have Mela. Okay, she's a comedian who likes to get naked. She's also a professional psychic. How that kind of melds together, we will all find out together. So, Mela, thank you very much for coming on the pod on very short notice. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Mela. You say it Mela. And don't worry because I'll probably butcher Jonel's name. But I have a lot of friends who say my name wrong because I just hang out with them on the internet and I think it's hilarious.
It's spelled Mela. So
I know,
Mela.
but it's supposed to have an accent over the E, to like have an A sound. It's French, but I'm not French at all. I actually did my ancestry.com stuff and I'm like 42% English, which is hilarious to me because I married an English guy and he was like, "Oh, I was only 55% English." So,
Mela, tell the
yes.
people who you are and what you do.
My name's Mela Shea, and I'm 34. I live in Easton, Pennsylvania. I used to live in New York City. My mom was born there. I lived there for 8 years, and I love to do stand up comedy. And I have a kind of a sexy Patreon, and I'm also a professional psychic. And I was born with cerebral palsy, which I talk about a lot in my stand up, specifically how like of a mild case I have of it and how I'm jealous of people that have it worse than me, because I think they're cooler.
Okay. We have to interject. Let's unpack that statement. Why would you be more jealous with people that have it slightly worse than you do?
Well, I have to explain that cerebral palsy is actually the number one birth disability that you can get at birth. Like it's not genetic. So, I mean, there's some argument that it might be genetic, but I don't necessarily believe that.
Mhm.
Um, but so you can have it. I don't know if anybody's ever seen My Left Foot, but allegedly that character had it very
Oh,
bad. So he could only um, move his left foot. And so I can walk and jump and run, actually train. But anyway, you can have it where you don't move your hands, or like you can't speak, or you ride around on a scooter. And some of my jokes are like, I'm jealous of the people that use canes because they can trip people that they don't like and get away with it.
mm, I see you
Yeah.
are a professional comedian. But for our audio listeners and for the people who have zero idea what cerebral palsy is, what does it do to a person and how can it manifest? You already touched upon how you can get it, so it's just through
Hmm.
birth, might not be genetic. So, but how does that play in?
So you get it while you are being born, and typically you're also premature. I was born 2 months prematurely, and I also have a twin sister, but not identical. She's fraternal to me. I feel like it's fair to say that because I have another joke that's like, what would it be like if I had, because she doesn't have cerebral palsy, she has no disability. So one of my jokes is like, what would it be like if I had a twin, an identical twin, the person that looked like me but didn't have cerebral palsy, so I had to look at my potential every day, I'd have to kill her, you know.
God damn.
That one always
God damn it.
confuses the crowd, but they
Uh,
laugh. They do laugh.
uh,
I want them to laugh about that because I think it's hilarious. It'd have to be like the Hunger Games style, like only one can survive, you know.
all right. Wait, so you have a twin,
Mm-hmm.
fraternal. And is he, she all good? Okay.
Yeah, she's a girl. She doesn't have a disability. Right now, she's well. Okay, so I'm 6 feet tall and I have brunette hair, even though it's going gray. I love the grays,
Mm-hmm.
but she's 5'6" and she has blonde hair and blue eyes, and I have green eyes. So like we're very different looking.
Oh, interesting how that all played out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can't say that they're adopted because
Well, no, I mean like
you're
identical twins
like
are
twins.
literally cool because well, all twins are cool, but
Mm-hmm.
identical twins are one egg that's split, which
Mm-hmm.
is really neat. And like me and my twin are no more related than other siblings are because we're two separate eggs. You know, we just happen to
Amazing.
be fertilized at the same time.
Amazing. But going back to the cerebral palsy part, so how, what do people struggle with it, or how can it manifest differently with different people?
Well, so what it really is that it's a brain. It's a you get cut off from the oxygen as you're being born, so your brain gets damaged, and it's a neurological disability, and it's not multiple sclerosis, and it's not a stroke, even though it's like
Interesting.
technically a stroke at
Mm-hmm.
birth. But like I have a friend who has hemiplegia, which is like a stroke on half of your body, and people ask her if she has cerebral palsy all the time. It does look similar, but she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. She was born able-bodied. But anyway, so you can have it on all four quadrants of your body. You can
Mm-hmm.
have it on just the top half, or you can have it on just the bottom half, or you can have it on just one side. The argument, like, there's a couple of doctor arguments over me, is because some of them say I have it on my entire left side, and some of them are like, no, just on your left leg, just the
Mm-hmm.
bottom left leg, you know. And so I don't know. Like I'm very lucky. The thing that I don't like is that word high functioning that likes
Mm-hmm.
to get applied to disabilities, because my argument is that there's a lot of information for people with disabilities who have like severe or moderate disabilities, but like if you have a mild disability like me, they're like, ah, suck it up, buttercup. Sorry. It's true. I don't even qualify for a disabled parking permit.
Oh,
And I have an
interesting.
origin disability. Like, why not? You know, like the rules on the the parking permit are like, can you walk 200 feet
Oh.
without being out of breath? And that, like, that's true. Like, ostensibly, I'd have to get myself a cane and like fake
Mm-hmm.
it, but I don't feel like I'm being unfair,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I
because
mean,
I have cerebral palsy. Like, give me the freaking
that's
the
true.
clap,
But
you know.
also, like, I am quote unquote able bodied, but I can't walk 200 feet without being out of breath.
Yeah,
So
so
can I
you need
qualify?
to have
No.
one.
No. But well, thank you for he's sharing what your condition currently. But
Hmm.
that's just one of the many many interesting things about when we met almost a decade ago. My gosh.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
so I met Mela for a headshot for her website, her business starting then, and you were already a psychic then. So,
Yeah, actually, interestingly, you have a very cool role because you took the headshot that was on the original website
hmm
that I took and put on my now website. We have to do another one
hey,
because it's so old, but it's such a great picture. Like Janelle was like the part of the origin of the website. Isn't that cool? I feel like it was in 2011 because I feel like I launched the website in like January 1st
I
of
think it was. I think
2012.
it was one of my very, very first shoots when I just moved to New York. Didn't even know how.
Really? You
Yeah,
were very new?
probably. I think it was like 10 months by then. But
Oh, okay,
that's the
cool.
thing is like, I didn't even know that I was gonna shoot here because I always thought New York had a plethora of more capable artists than I. And then
No,
I
you're
realized
so
that just like,
talented. And like I've dated photographers. Like you're really good. Like I've been like in the bunker while they're doing the lighting and like
mhm.
doing the Photoshop and like doing the setup. So I've watched several of them do this. I'm like, you definitely have the
I
skills.
totally
So
appreciate it.
don't be humble.
For our audio and video watchers out there, as you can see, I did not pay her for this. This is not a sponsored ad. She is either telling the truth or just making me feel really, really good. Either
No,
way, I'll
I
take
didn't get
it.
paid for this. Yeah, no, I just have been around a lot of photography creatives, and yeah,
I,
Janelle knows how to light and frame and do all the good things.
and we shot in the scary storage room. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, with
I didn't.
all.
You were like, come to my. Was it like some storage room after hours or something?
It is. It was like, yeah, it's where the building leaves all the, if somebody moves out of the building, that's was supposed to be a rec room, but it ended up
Uh
becoming a storage room because they didn't have enough space in the basement. So all the people, everybody that left stuff from their apartment, they stuff it there, and I had to
huh.
deal with the building manager saying like, as long as you can like clear it out, you can use whatever space there whenever you want because technically it should be a rec room. So I just put a couple of Craigslist ads like, "Hey, free couch if you can pick it up," and then I had enough space so I can host people like yourself to do some fun shoots, which was I was very happy. It was very interesting then. Your profession. So that's where we want to segue into.
Mm.
I know it's the impetus for this particular recording is New York, and most big cities are starting to shut down because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and there's a not less places where people would go to. I figured content could be given as a way to entertain people once they run out of the 15 million movies that they can watch through Netflix or Hulu or HBO. But
Yeah.
in reality, too, when I was looking through my Rolodex of interesting people, it's like comedian. I love comedians. I've had a couple of my closest friend, successful comedians on the pod. Shout out Sarah. Shout out Caitlin. Love them to death. But none of them are psychic, right? And then
Yeah.
I've got plenty of naked people on the pod and friends and on the website. None of them are psychic and comedians as well. So these
Yeah.
are three different avenues. So let's start wherever you want to start. What is the Mela Shea brand?
Um, so it's really cool. Like my brand is just I feel to be myself and expand myself. And also I'm super weird. Like I'm born with a disability, and when I was little, and I used to stay in my room and be like, "Why are we here? Like, why do I have to deal with having a disability? Like, why would I choose this?" You know. And then I have a really ragey dad. He has, and this is only me. He would not admit to this, but I think he is a psychopath, and so it was really difficult living with him. And I think psychic. I think first of all, I think everyone is psychic at some level because we all have the gut instinct. And what I like to say is that no one is, uh, like, no one is. What is the thing? Like, we're the only animals that disregard it because antelopes are not being like, oh, I wonder if that lion's hungry. They're busy running away from the lion, you know? And so the show is a little bit morbid, but the people survived the show called I Survived.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, at some point during the episode, the person goes, I had an intuition. My gut said not to talk to that person. They always say this. And this is your gut instinct talking to you. So everyone has a gut instinct. And I'm sure there's times in your life when your gut was like, I don't like this, Janelle. We shouldn't be here. Let's go somewhere else. And so some people are like, I feel like someone or something is talking to me. And this is either your higher self, your guides, or the universe, or a combination, or the angels. You know, like I could talk for hours and hours about this. There's a soul contract that we make. Like, I don't think that I'm really Mela. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm the soul that resides in her body.
Whoa.
So not only did I choose my parents for a lesson, I chose to have cerebral palsy, which I know that you're like joking about how small listeners you have, but sometimes I like to partake in psychedelics. And when you do that, like mushrooms or acid, when you do that,
Yeah.
you get to talk to, or at least I get to talk to what I perceive as what's called the narrator,
Mm-hmm.
which is like the narrator of the universe. And so I was talking to them, and they were like, "Oh, you chose to have cerebral palsy because it's part of your specific brand. So it's so interesting that you talk about brand." Because I was like, "Oh, say more about that. Why?" And they're like, "Well, because you can reach more people, like with your uniqueness." And I was like, "Oh,
That's
that makes
amazing.
sense." So I have this intuition that in the future, like in the next 10 years, people with disabilities will be more prevalent in TVs and movies. And and I really hope this happens because I can see myself like on Netflix, doing a special. So I'm like, call me Netflix. So I'm really excited.
I mean, I am just there's a lot to unpack in that short explanation, but you know what I admire the most is I sense zero hesitance about you accepting every part of your being.
Well, it's great that you say that because I do now, but like when I was younger, it was not the case. I used to wear a leg brace up until I was 14 on my left leg, which is my affected side. And I literally, like in second grade, I'm like 8 years old. I'm not kidding you, would come home from school. This is kind of a sad story, but, and also I laugh inappropriately because of my dad's rage. So just like. So I would come home, sit down on the kitchen table, put my face on the side, like just put it on the side, like so it was on the side of the table. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Side of face on table directly, and just sob for like half an hour, just like, and my parents would be walking by me because this is like a normal occurrence, and they would stop and be like, can I help you? I would just be like, I just want to be normal, just crying, just like not regular crying, just like heavy heaving. So it took me a long time to accept myself. I'll say that.
What was the path towards accepting who you are? Because to be totally honest, and I hear this all the time, and I've been working really really hard with it. People say that like, you're okay, you're not that short, you're not that unattractive, you're not that fat, but I think the first time that I've looked at my body and I said like, oh, not bad, was throughout this hunkering of the shutdown of New York City of 2020, because
Hmm.
I came home from the homeland over the holidays a few months ago, 30 pounds overweight, or an additional 30 pounds, and I just started every day just doing a little bit better on something, like do
Mm.
something, eat less or eat slightly healthier, don't drink beer unless there's more than one person with you, stuff like that. I just did that and became a habit for 3 months, and then I think I'm down a couple of pounds, and I did, yesterday I was working out at home because the gyms are closed, doing my calisthenics, took off my shirt because why would I waste the shirt to sweat on, and well, nobody's gonna see me the next few days anyway. And then looking at the mirror, it's like, huh, okay, that's not that bad. But I mean, even that, I would even I'm scared to brush my teeth in the morning and see myself like, oh, and then I see you, a beacon of confidence. How
Oh,
what
thank you.
how did you get to that point?
I'll have to give you the cliff notes and we can unpack it honestly. Like, and I don't mean to keep talking about my dad, but he was very ragey,
Mm.
which caused a lot of depression. Which, like, so I've been in the psych ward, committed in the psych ward for a 2 week period of time, three separate times. One's at 17, one's at 19, and one's at 24. And I turned 25, so I'm 34 now. So I haven't been back since that time.
Would you want to share
But
the
through
reasons why
yeah,
you
through
were
this
committed?
journey, first, when I was 17, I was very depressed, which you would be if you have a ragey dad and you're not able to express yourself and you're very like repressed. Because I'm a very like open, you can see I'm a very open, like very emotionally expressive person. And to be around a dad who is just like basically like, you're a piece of shit, I don't want to trigger anybody. But so I'll skipping to the end really quickly. It turned out the whole time I had complex PTSD, which duh,
Mm-hmm.
like how would I not? So
Mm-hmm.
all these things I was experiencing were a result of that. But even back in the day, like in 2004 until now, we didn't really know. Like, actually, mental health help in this country is still really, really crappy. And so they were like, oh, you have major depression. And they gave me Zoloft, which inadvertently triggered me into a manic episode,
Mm.
which is crazy. And because you can have mania while you have complex PTSD. So then I went back to the hospital, and they were like, oh, you have bipolar disorder. So then it went to this like 5 or 6 year period of time where I was like trying every single mood stabilizer to figure out, which also, by the way, I don't think pharmaceuticals are bad. I'm not like anti-pharmaceuticals. If you need them, take them, you know. And you can also take mood stabilizers if you have complex PTSD. However, there's a ton, and I don't want to be preachy, there's a ton of research on psychedelics being able to like rewire your brain.
Yep.
And those are the things that have really helped me, because they were like, you have bipolar disorder. First they were like, you have bipolar 2, and then they're like, no, wait, it's rapid cycling. And I was like, I don't know about this. And then finally, it wasn't until 2012 that I was living in Portland, Oregon. Um, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to a new psychiatrist. He seems new agey. I haven't been to a male psychiatrist in a long time. So I went to him. And in the first session, he was like, based on everything you told me, because I told him all about the hospitalizations, etc. He was like, I think that you have complex PTSD. And I was like, what? What are you saying? I need to research this. I was actually quite put off. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, all I was doing was coming to you for more mood stabilizers. You're going to tell me I don't actually have what I'm here for? So, um, so yeah, I went home and I researched it. Every single thing fit. And I was like, wow, why did this take 10 years to figure out, you know? So yeah. And then after that, actually I have a daughter, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and it's a kind of a segue, but it makes sense to my journey into psychedelics because, we had a dog that I adopted. Oh, okay. So she doesn't have a disability. She's able-bodied. And so, you know how things get internalized? Like, I know that I accept myself, but when I was pregnant with her, I was like, what am I going to do if she comes out with cerebral palsy? Like, will I blame myself? It was like this whole
Natural.
mind fuck that I was in. But she didn't. But then it kind of warped into this weird, if nothing ever happens to her, you're a good mom. So when she was 3, the dog bit her in the face, and I immediately separated them. Like, he bit her in the nose. And,
No.
but that triggered depression. I felt like I failed, you know, I was like, I'm a bad mom. I failed her. Something bad happened to her, which, you know, that's extreme. Things happen to kids, you know, at least I didn't leave her in a hot car, you know? So after that, I was like crying all the time, definitely depressed. And I was like, you know what? I'm like, you might have remembered this because we're Facebook friends. I was like, I need help. Like, somebody fucking help me. I'm not going to do this shit again, because I knew exactly what was going on, what the process was. And so then shout out to Lenny Rosenblum, Dr. Lenny Rosenblum. If you need a chiropractor, he's in Union Square Spinal Care. He is brilliant, chef's kiss, you know. He's amazing. He's like, I know a guy that could help you. And I won't say the person's name, and I actually don't know if Lenny wants to talk about it. Well, whatever, it's out here. So Lenny was like, I know a guy who does, like, he sits with you while you trip on acid or on ecstasy. And I was like, you know what? I'll do whatever, because you know what? I'm crying all the time and I can't function. Like, I need help.
A guided
Yeah, it's a
meditation
guided
thing.
journey. So I'm like, it's like January and I'm crying all the time. Imagine, like, I'm like making myself get on the bus, get dressed. Like, I don't want to do anything, crying. I'm laughing, sorry. And then as I go to the guy's place, and then we just talk gently about it. He gives me this book called MDMA something. I'll send you the name of it, but I can't remember. But it's just it's their personal journeys of going through the same thing that I was going to do. So then we set a day and time, and then I go back, and it kind of alleviated the depression immediately, like after the trip. And I was like, what? Why is this not widely available for everyone? You know, like, this is so unfair. And so then I looked more into it, and I realized that mushrooms were being researched too, psychedelic mushrooms. And I was like, I'm going to try those. And so I tried that, and it got better. And I was like, I've spent literally years in therapy and on mood stabilizers, and these two psychedelics have like fixed my brain in a matter of like weeks.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And so now every 6 months I'll do what's called a hero dose, which is 5 grams of mushrooms. And it really like fine tunes me. So, and you can look on YouTube everywhere. This stuff is like the research, people with PhDs are talking about it. The
Mm-hmm.
research is that, like, let's say you have your brain wired the way it is, you have your subconscious mind and like all of your collection of experiences in life. And so my personal experiences are like with my dad raging all the time, telling me that I'm a terrible person and I'm not worth it, et cetera, et cetera. Way worse stuff than that, but we'll just gloss over that part.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is when you hear the same thing, it's like a skier is going down the same groove
Mm-hmm.
over and over again in your brain. And like you can't fix it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also this therapy called EMDR, which is emotional memory desensitization and reprocessing, which is really cool too. So you just like say what happened to you. You don't have to go into detail. And then you literally listen to like headphones while a metronome is going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And this helps repair the two sides of your brain, because when you're under a lot of stress and trauma, your brain kind of fractures and your amygdala gets bigger. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the part of your brain that's responsible for fear and
Mm-hmm.
fight or flight. So you're literally always on edge and just like, oh, you
Yeah.
know. So clearly I've done a lot of research and talked to a lot of people with PhDs and doctorates about this, and medical
Mm-hmm.
doctors. And believe, like, I won't say any of their names, but a lot of them agree that psychedelics are the way to go.
Yeah. I mean,
And that's what I
I
have to
mean, it
say about
helps.
that.
The two lines that I know about psychedelics, it does rewire your brain, and that
Mm-hmm.
provides kind of a reset, particularly for people who have brains that have been either traumatized or it's just so used to one particular route that it's being run. So it's
Yeah,
kind of like a good
exactly.
tune up. It's kind of like if you have a bed, it's just turning the cushions to make everything slightly more balanced when you're
Mm-hmm.
sleeping, rotating your tire so you're not too leaning in, or one side is not too worn out than the other. So I mean, it's fascinating hearing about, of course, the science and of course how it helped you. And you mentioned you're still doing this on biannually.
Yeah, at least every 6 months,
Cool.
and it's great. And then,
Is it because you feel those negative feelings creeping back up again, and then that's the time that when you do it.
yeah, you know what? I'm so in tune with my body. As soon as they come, I'm like, I'm evicting you, get out.
All right.
I don't have time because I'm like, I've spent so much time crying, not even kidding you, probably a year of my life
Mhm.
crying, where I'm just like, and also I used to have horrible insomnia, not a joke, like
Yep.
seriously bad insomnia, which did come in handy after I had a child because you don't sleep. They don't let you sleep at all. And so we found out that my husband, he doesn't have this like protein in his body that regulates your sleep.
Oh.
Like if he doesn't get enough sleep, he will literally fall asleep.
Oh.
Which I was very
Close
jealous
to
about.
narcolepsy.
It's close, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have narcolepsy. But I had, so after we had our daughter, I was up with her. It was like zero problem for me. And he was like, I don't know how you're doing this. Like I can't stay awake. And I'm like, yeah, I think maybe we should look into that.
Right. But
Um,
it's great to hear that. Of course, for people, every problem, I always say, no matter how big or small, is relative to their experience. You've gone through a lot. I cannot compare my experiences with you. I can't be in your shoes. But what I admire is, I mean, I hear you researched. I hear you tried
yeah,
different things. For me, people try a lot of stupid things. People try a lot of smart things. But the most important thing is, if you have a problem, try to fix it. You can't just like let it happen to you all the time.
yeah,
And I'm glad
yeah.
that
I
it worked out
totally
for you.
agree.
Alright. With that, I know that that was slightly scientific, slightly serious.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but let's go to more fun stuff, right? So let's start because you mentioned. So what is the main job? What are the side jobs? What is the day job? What is the night
So
job?
the
Let's run
job
it
I
down.
make the most money on is my psychic work, and I love it
It's
because I get to talk
amazing.
to people. Yeah, I love it because I get to talk to people about their lives, and like people literally trust me with their deepest, darkest fears and their stuff they're going through, and I never share it. You know what I mean? I'm like the professional secret keeper.
Cool.
So, yeah, and I talk about the universe. So basically, there's different psychics and there's different styles. Obviously, just like most professionals. I'm not a fan of timelines. Like, don't call me and be like, when will I meet my soulmate? It's like, listen, okay. Everyone came here with a soul contract. We have written in, like, I've written you, John Allen, into my soul contract as you have written me into yours. You know, so
I like that word, soul
and
contract.
in past lives we could have had different iterations. You could have been a woman, you know what I mean? Because I feel like we've met before. We have enough, we've known each other long enough, and we've been connected long enough, and we've sort of been keeping in each other's lives without even that much talking, to where that's an indication to me that we've known each other in the past.
It's definitely a monkey in your zoo, 100%.
Yeah, so
I
it's
know
really
I was a
cool. It's
monkey.
like, you know, we could have been brother sister. We could have been, you could have been my mom. Anything, because gender is relative. Like, I personally feel like I've spent a lot of lifetimes as a man, because I have a lot of really prophetic and really vivid dreams of being a military officer, being a spy in like older times, but obviously as a man in this time. And I really feel like I'm an old soul where I was like, I'll just be a lady, and I feel like partly the reason why I chose cerebral palsy is so that I would not go to the military again.
That's kind of like a rational way to look at it. Like, give yourself some form of manageable disability to get out of something that is way
There's
worse.
also that, but it's really cool because I used to have this recurring dream of being a ballerina around the turn of century in the 1800s. This is like the last lifetime I had as a woman. And I was like a prima ballerina. In the dream, it's so vivid. Like, I see myself, like I recognize my soul in this woman's body. And she's dancing and dancing and dancing, and she's the principal. And then she has a bad fall, bad accident. She breaks her ankle. And I'm like, I don't think this woman gave up the sadness of that. So I felt like I was a man for the next couple lifetimes. And then when I returned to the female body, my soul is still holding on to that injury as well.
All right.
So it was like a 1-2 punch. Like, don't get in the military, be a woman, and like resolve the karma you have attached, your personal karma that you have attached to this injury.
There's like thousands of years prior, and then there's going to be thousands of years moving forward. You'll have a bajillion for those people that believe in reincarnation.
I
and that, like,
I completely
you
believe in
you
past
will
lives.
have
I think you just return to the ball of light.
and you can have a bajillion iterations of your being in whatever mode that you are in. It's like it's like I'm weird because, like, I'd like to believe in as many things that I can, because there's no downfall in not in believing in something, as long as it doesn't impede in your day to day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm born and raised Roman Catholic. Do I believe in God? Sure. Right? But I'm not gonna like, they said, do not have premarital sex. Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
well, the Catholics are super cool because they do exorcisms. They believe in demons.
that's the cool part.
I'm cool with the Catholics. I know that they have all this they have all this sex shame and stuff, which I'm not cool with.
Yeah. I mean,
but the Catholic priests, and all this stuff, we won't talk about it, but you know what it is. But my favorite thing is that they do exorcism. They literally have people trained to do exorcisms.
That's tough. But I from what I remember from my school, like, exorcisms are only allowed, or only it needs to be sponsored by the Vatican.
But they have a priest that goes and does it.
Yeah,
it's really priests that are trained.
Yeah, but wait, I don't want to steer off too much. So you're because part of what I want to share in this podcast is, we are all light shapers, right? We have passions, we do certain things. Some of them are artistic, some of them are not. Some of them are quirky and fun. Some of them are, writing strongly worded emails and a very organized calendar invite. So, we are all shaping other people's lives in one way, shape, or form. Your main income source, plus something extremely interesting, is being a psychic. So tell the people your services. Like, we can use this segment a little bit of as a plug, but also like, walk us through, a session with Mela, the stand-up psychic.
Okay. So what's really cool is that you can come to me, and I charge by the hour. I charge 125 for an hour. And basically you call me, you pay and you call me, and then you ask your questions, or you can just ask me to channel for you. It's really neat. I'm very big on flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
and just like my reading style is very conversational. You can jump in at any time. I may interrupt you if I'm receiving a message. And the cool other thing that I've started doing recently is that it's a deeper channel, so it's a bit more money, but I'll channel directly with the Akashic record. So the Akashic record is a record of all the lifetimes you've had.
Ooh.
And so what the goal is to try and find out like what your soul is still holding on to, and like what's holding you back in the current life that you have. So it's really fun to do those too. But basically, there's all kinds of ways. There's not really like a generic reading you'll get with me, because it depends on the person you are, the type of energy you have. What's most important is how open you are with your energetic field, because I'm sure people know about Tai Chi and stuff like that. Like there's ways that you can block yourself off. So if you're
Chakra,
really closed
cheese.
off,
Mm-hmm.
because like I won't say that I'm like a vampire, but if you really don't want me to see something, I won't be able to see it. Like you are in total control. You know what I mean? It's not like I can just read all your thoughts. Like you have to sort of give yourself over to me like putty. And then, because I'm just a messenger,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I am. I'm not talking about myself. I'm just channeling with your specific guides, your angels. So like there's master guides. There's the angelic realm. We're talking about Michael, Gabriel, Zadkiel, Uriel, etc. The seven
Mm-hmm.
archangels. And then so what's really cool is the other day, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying this, I channeled with a lady, and I got that David Bowie is one of her ascended masters. Like
Dope.
he passed away and he decided to be an ascended master. And she was like, oh my god, that makes sense, because I keep wanting to listen to his music and I feel like he's talking to me. I'm like, well, he wants to say hi. And I feel like he personally didn't want to take on kids. He wanted people that were already adults.
So your psychic service is available online. That's what we're gonna plug a lot.
Oh
They
yeah,
can
so
book
it's
it there.
standupsychic.com. You
How
can.
does that work though? Like, what for some of the skeptics out there, how would you feel the energy through an email or a phone call or a video call?
Mhm.
How does that kind of
Well,
work?
you can also do them with me in person if
In
you're
person,
local
of
to my
course.
area in Easton, Pennsylvania. But so everyone has an energy field. You and me, even though we're not in the same area, we're exchanging energy at this moment. We're not doing a reading, but we are
Mm-hmm.
exchanging energy by talking to each other. And energy can't be created or destroyed, and it's literally everywhere. And so if you put your hand in front of your face and you can imagine these are energy tendrils coming out of your body, and everybody has an energy aura. And this has been scientifically proven, by the way, for any skeptics out of there. It's been proven that you have an energy. And because think about it, your nervous system is literally a computer,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
you know? So, and if you've ever been around somebody where you're like, man, that person gives me bad vibes, or they're always negative, those people usually have a denser energy field. And I'm trying not to get too esoteric, but like, say that person who's negative always sits in this particular chair and they're not around you, but then you sit in their chair and
Mm-hmm.
then you start feeling kind of crappy. And then you leave and then you're like, oh, that was so and so's chair. They're always in a bad mood.
Huh.
Like they've energy imprinted onto that object, which is called psychometry.
Mm-hmm.
We were picking up their energy vibes that way. So everyone can do it because it's been scientifically proven that we can tell when people are afraid, when they're thirsty, when they're hungry, when they're angry. Like we can, and sleepy, like we can just sense all this without speaking.
And for I mean, I'm just extremely fascinated. To be completely honest, I'm always like half in with uh psychics or mediums. Like, we've done it before. Yeah, I remember growing up, my mom had a palm reading, and the reading was not to put me in a bicycle. So I was probably 6 or 7. So don't put me in a bicycle because I'm gonna get into an accident. And I, being a kid, got pissed, of course. But years and years and years after like multiple nagging sessions, uh, parents finally relented. Like, yeah, you're 9. You're not gonna get into an accident. I knew how to ride a bike through friends, but I never had my own bicycle.
Hmm.
But finally, my parents got me a bike. Not 2 months later, cracked my head open.
Wow.
Yeah. So from then on, it's like, oh shit, like these things kind of work in whatever weird way or fashion. But also I'm also picking and choosing the ones that kind of work. If the reading is good, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of true. But if the reading is bad, it's like, not gonna happen to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I
Well, that particular reading is interesting to me because my argument on that, I mean, obviously I didn't want you to crack your head open, but like things happen to people. Like I've
100%.
fallen many times, you know what I mean? Like I don't want anything majorly bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I feel like some of the accidents we go through are part of our soul growth. So what if you were supposed to have that accident in order to have your soul growth? You
I
know what I
never really
mean?
thought
Like,
about it like that. That's
yeah.
why
So the
that
thing is, like,
person
I'm
read it.
careful with my readings because I'm like, yeah, I do pick up kind of alarming things in the energy, and I will package that, but I will say, this is your life and you get to live it. You get to choose. It's ultimately up to you.
That's perfect. Well, so before we move on to other more fun, even funner topics about the super million things that you do, what has been like, or can you share like the coolest, most interesting reading that you've had? But also, I'm much more interested. What has been the worst? And it depends on
Um,
your interpretation on what could be a great reading. It might be the results might be great, or it might be super on point. And what's a bad reading? It might be it's like it's super
yeah,
duper off, or it's like you kind of felt something like you're kind of be your like, piano's gonna crash over you or stuff like that.
yeah. So I've had a lot of really good ones. There's been a lot of really amazing open people. Like one of my favorite early on in this career, one of my favorite ones was a new client who came, and because what I do is I just channel and I tell you what drops into my mind. So she asked me this question. I'll be kind of vague because it's her personal question. And then she asked me a question and I'm like, huh, you were in a band with him, weren't you? And she was like, I almost fell off my chair. Like, how do you know that? And there was no way I could have known that. I didn't know her previously to this. I also, on principle, I know this is going to sound egotistical, but I never Google people ever. Like, I feel like that's cheating,
Hmm.
you know? So, if I were going to read you, it'd be a little bit of a cheating because I know you,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But, so that was sort of one of the readings, the early on readings where I'm like, wow, yeah, I'm really good at this. And, oh, a bad one is like, and no offense to domestic violence victims out there, where my mom was one for 20 years, etc. I've been in bad relationships too. But it was this lady who came to me because she wanted to get back with this person,
Huh.
but this person kept like obviously abusing them and like filing restraining orders as a means of control. And I just told him, I was like, this is not healthy. None of this behavior is healthy, and you need to get out of this relationship. But she didn't like hearing that. So then she like called me and like cursed me out on my voicemail a couple times. So I just blocked her. But this is a type of person that really shouldn't be calling a psychic. They should be calling, a victim's hotline.
Hmm.
But, I very carefully, I don't want to judge anyone because we're all on a journey,
Sure.
you know. But I think, she didn't, some people just want to hear what they want to hear and they don't, because I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what I'm receiving for you.
That's right.
And that's what I'll say.
All right. So, um, those are like those are correct. Kind of like that's what there will be natural types of great readings. And thank you very much for sharing, of course. And uh, you know, shout out standuppsychic.com. Uh, um, Try to hit her up if you're in the Eastern Pennsylvania area. But again, you're not just a psychic. This is the day job. This is majority of your work. Um,
I need to
um,
get some water, but keep talking. Yeah.
how's like Tell the people what else you do that is also extremely interesting. All right, we are back. Took a little break, and thank you for sharing uh, details and walking us through your day slash main job, which is being a very cool psychic. That's I love saying it. It's like I'm a psychic friend, but
Yeah, it's
that's
a lot
not
of fun.
yeah, but that's not your only source of both enjoyment, entertainment, and income. So tell the people all the other stuff that you do.
Okay, so before I say this other stuff, but I am almost finished with a memoir,
Ooh,
and I really want to publish it before April. I mean, obviously, being quarantined is going to give me no excuse to avoid it.
I was gonna say, actually, you know what? Let's take a little break. So, hopefully the people that are listening, I'm sure that one of their main reasons is they're burning through content because of the shutdown. What are you doing
Yeah.
to keep yourself sane? And it's actually good because it's forcing you to work on your memoir.
Yeah, I have 96 pages, Google Docs pages of this memoir. And um, I'm working with a friend of mine to organize it, and I'm going to like name the chapters. It's really almost there. And
Awesome.
so it's basically about, we didn't talk about this, but like when I got to New York City, I was homeless. Like literally my mom had thrown me out,
Oh,
took a bus with no money, like, and no winter coat. Like the things you see in movies like actually happened to me.
that
And this is
is
this is like the
insane.
origin of, well, also that my dad almost drowned me when I was 5.
It's
But
too
yeah,
many,
so I
too
have the near
many.
death experience. Yeah, so but I realized I had nothing. I didn't even have my identification. I had no money. I'm 19 years old. I'm on this bus to New York City. All I can do right now is trust. Like, it sounds cliche, but
Mm-hmm.
like, what am I going to do? Sit down and die? I can't, that's not
Mm-hmm.
an option.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally got off the bus and saw a kid with a sign. He was around my age. And I was like, can you tell me where the services are? Because I just got here. And he tells me about this place called Streetworks, which is great. That was on Delancey and Essex in the Lower East
Mm-hmm.
Side. And then he tells me about this church called Metropolitan Community Church of New York. And so I slept at that church for like 3 months on a cot. And then I worked with Streetworks to get my birth certificate so I could get an ID. And this is post 9/11. This is in December 2005. It took me 5 months to get an ID because you had to
Mm-hmm.
have like a utility bill. You had to have what's called 6 points of
Yep.
identification
Yep.
in New York City, which I didn't have. I ended up coming up with 5, one of which was the person working at Streetworks literally just like, we believe she is who she says she is. So so I go in there and I'm like, please, because you had to have the director sign off of it, and they did. So thank God. But I forgot what that was about. So anyway, the point was that was when I decided to somehow make psychic thing a thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, all I really did was trust my intuition this
Wow.
entire time. Talk to this kid, uh, because the day I got my ID, I got a retail job working at Petland Discounts, like literally the same day. So
That's amazing.
it's amazing because so segueing it into this shutdown, like we're now seeing things like we don't really need this extra crap.
That's
These
true.
distractions
That
are
is true.
not really real.
That is true.
So I really think a lot of people are sitting at their house being like, who am I really? Not saying that they need to go through homelessness to come to this sort of thing, but I feel like even in all the crap I've been through, I've been given a lot of gifts of like
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness. Because we did, like, segueing back to when I talked about, sobbing about why was I disabled and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like through being institutionalized and being homeless and realizing, you're going to think this is funny maybe, but realizing that men were still attracted to me. Like, I've literally had no shortage of men being attracted to me. Maybe that's egotistical, but I was like, you know what? Like, cut the shit, Mela. Like, you literally have been in the psych ward, you've been homeless, you've sucked a dick literally for bus money, and people still want to date you. So what's your problem?
It's
Like, just be cool, you
and,
know?
and that's somewhere a good milestone point too is because we all know people that have extremely low self esteem, me included. And then sometimes we need things like stories like yours, or even like shutdowns like these, to really look at yourself and say, huh. Because for me, it's more of like a diversification part. Um,
Hmm.
it's it's I think during the pre-show I was telling you, it felt a little guilt. I felt a little guilty how comfortable and how actually better things have been the past couple of weeks and the past couple of days that we've been extremely shut down.
Mm.
Because my parents raised me to be a responsible adult. Like, if, I was telling my friends, if you're living your life one toilet paper roll at a time, the toilet paper roll is not your problem, right? So, but of course, most of my friends are in service. It's tough because I see a lot of people who are really, really working hard, who are really, really hustling, and this was beyond their control. But there's
Yeah, of
always that
course.
certain side of the story where, well, a lot of things are not in control. We need to be prepared for, if not all of them, most of them. So, like, if it were my case, like, right, if it's not service, if the internet shut down, where my job is, um, I'm pretty screwed. But I'm not gonna be screwed until maybe month 2 or month 3. I'd still be
Yeah, no, I
okay.
think about that stuff all the
Mm-hmm.
time too. That's very interesting. But when I was homeless, because I've literally had nothing, and so I know I'm not from a third world country. We can classify, I think, the Philippines as a third world country
100%,
at
it
this
is.
time where you are from. So I'm not trying to say
Mm-hmm.
any of that. And I am a white woman, but I do have a disability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to recognize my privilege. However, I've literally had not two dimes to rub together, and I've had a lot of charity given to me
Mm-hmm.
by people. Like I've had friends who literally, one friend, which I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants to be called out, but he called me up, and this is right after I got out of the homeless shelter and I got into this like horrible relationship. We'll gloss over that part, but he called me up and he's like, "Where are you? No one knows where you are. We haven't heard from you. Like we haven't heard from you or seen you in months. What the hell?" So I'm like very depressed, and I was like, I'm basically being held in this apartment, just like in this horrible relationship. And he was like, I'm in New Hampshire right now. We were in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And he's like, I'm in New Hampshire, or it was Rhode Island or something. But I'm coming right now. It's going to take me 5 hours, but I'm coming right now to get you.
It's
And I
amazing.
was like, oh my God. So then the same person picks me up out of my situation, then drops me at his apartment and lets me stay there for 3 months. He has to go on assignment. He's another photographer. He buys me a bunch of Hungry Man meals. That's all I eat. You know what I mean? Like just the care. People have
Mm-hmm.
gone out of their way massively for
Yep.
me. So that's why paying it forward is important to me. But also having no money made me be like, you know what? Get like whatever you think about money is not real. Money isn't real. You know what I mean? That yeah, it's there. But really the universe is like, you want more money, you can have more money. You just need to believe that you can have it. A lot of it is about self-belief.
Yep.
Really is. It comes down to that. Which I know you share that you have low self-esteem, but you obviously have a relationship to money that's functional, you know?
Yeah, but my thing too is like, I understand that I have gaps in my system. I try to work on them, but also part of my self care is, if it's too hard, then take a break. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be sexy, I want to be handsome, but like, I also like rice and I love beer. I
Yeah.
need to have a balance of both. Same with self esteem. There are certain times where I look at myself, it's like, like a little bit of Schadenfreude when people are suffering and I'm enjoying because of their suffering. Yeah, I have to admit, I enjoy that sometimes because I really worked hard for what I'm doing right now, um, or what I'm enjoying right now. But also the other points, like, I can't just like draw that card everywhere I go. That's not my brand. I'm not the life of the party. I'm not the charming person at a housewarming. I'm the person that, I'm good with small crowds over dinner or like a game night. That's my thing. But if you put me in a club, I'm probably just gonna be at the bar drinking. And we all
Yeah,
have,
same though. I can do that for a bit, but I really prefer one-on-one
but I
interactions,
but I totally believe, like, you said it yourself, and it kind of ties really closely to your profession. It's energy. Your energy is super. I can't even say if it's good or bad or weird or different. It's just you
It's
have
very it's very
energy.
open.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
and
that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to explain, not to cut you off, but
no,
like I literally never stress about money. Like I literally it's about trust. Like I trust that I'll be there. You know, even in the shutdown, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to publish my book and people will buy it. Like I just declare that I will have money. I have money easily. Money comes to me very easily. It's easy for me to get. Like the other day I spent $300. Next day I make 500. You know what I mean? Like
it's
I
amazing.
don't stress about it ever. So, and I'm not trying to offend people, but if you're sitting in your house being like, oh, how will I panic buy toilet paper? Like
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry.
No,
You're
it's
doing it
also for
wrong.
me. It's like this shutdown is causing people to really look inward because, if there's like I'm bored the past 2 days, like um, or that's a you problem, but also it's not like you are in a jail cell. There are parks out there that you can get to if you can safely. There are
Mm-hmm.
masks and gloves that you could wear. You could be reasonably safe doing some form of interaction, but for the most part that's always true as well. Like if you're not comfortable with yourself, you're screwed. And I'm also like having a lot of really fun, like reading a lot of fun work emails about, hey, I apologize if our video conference is kind of like I'm not on video, or you hear noises in the background out with my kids and yada yada. It's like own it. Like if it's not, it's fun that some people are so like apologetic about how not equipped they are to have their personal life be put into the forefront because of
Mm.
extenuating circumstances. But there are some other people also that, hey, they're on an important video call. They have a sales meeting with clients. Oh, but they just drop the phone and or just like run across the room because their kid is supplying makeup. It's fun to see, you know. One of
Yeah,
the
I mean, let people in because nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
not saying slap your boss. That's not what I'm
no,
saying.
no,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying like be comfortable. And
Yeah,
I know that I'm not just. I feel like my reservation is I don't want to just sit here and like armchair diagnose people.
mm-hmm.
Like just relax.
Yep,
Like it's. I know it's way more than that. And everybody's a unique snowflake, not in
yeah,
the political sense, but we literally are our
yeah,
own unique human
yeah,
being.
yeah. My thing is to
So.
just do your best, be kind, and do your best. Whatever kind or best is your like in your world, whatever kind is, whatever good is, do that. Because I know my
Mm-hmm.
kind might not be your kind, my good might not be your good, but at least you're doing something that you think is good to you, and that will make you feel good in the end. My feeling good is eating a shit ton of McDonald's during Christmas. That's my meal, and that makes me happy. And some people might abhor that, some people might respect that, but in the end, it's me. And during
Mm-hmm.
this shutdown, when you're at home, you've seen all the movies that you want, you've seen all the TV that you want. You can't cook, so you've ordered for the same place like 4 days in a row. And if you're not enjoying it, it's because you haven't found something that was like aligned to your needs, right? So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully find that. But
That's so wise.
yeah, well,
Points for that.
yeah,
Points for that perspective. I dig it.
yeah. Let's again, we segued a little bit, but we also want to acknowledge that we're doing, we did this emergency podcast because I felt, I ran out of my podcasts, and I'm working full time. Like I've like nothing has changed with my work. So, and I have friends that have like literally woke up. It's like there's no job to do yet. So,
Yeah. But also think about how much we're distracted, especially in New York City. There's so much hubbub and bustle, and there's always something to do, usually. And like all my comedy shows have been canceled. Like
mhm.
they're all canceled.
Oh,
And but yeah, I am not bothered by
yeah.
this. And I can tell by some of my friends that are like, what do I do?
That's
I
right.
get it,
Well, we respect it. Like we will not, we're not minimizing anybody's struggles, but also if there is a struggle, there is a correlating solution for that particular problem. People just needs to find it. It's different for every single person. So my problem is like I need to force myself to shower now that we're working from home, because like there has
Mm.
been days where I was like, they only see this like my neck up on video
I know.
calls. Not
That's a
wearing.
good
I'm not
point.
even wearing pants right now, so I don't care. But we are in a perfect segue because you mentioned your comedy, so that's one of the couple of other things that you do as a passion to supplement your income as well. How did you get into comedy?
Oh, honestly got into comedy as a distraction from being homeless,
Mhm.
like that, and also just because I like comedy. But it was interesting because I was homeless at the time, and I was like, okay, people really do look through homeless people. I think it's gotten better, but back in 2005,
Mhm.
people were still actively avoiding eye contact with the homeless, you know? So I was like, you know what? Because my point of view has always been, never changed, that I'm going to like force people to look at me. So I would go to
Just
open mics and be like, yeah, I'm homeless. Hey, what's up? My name's Mela. And it would make people very cringy, but I really love that. I love diving in and be like, okay, let's figure out why you're cringing right now.
yeah. And that's the
You
thing.
know?
I mean, the one thing that yeah, again, as you've noticed, and a bunch of the people that know me, I do have a lot of comedian friends, and the one thing that they respect me for is for me never gonna attempt an open mic, never gonna attempt comedy because it's some you need to it's there's some level of masochism that you have to be comfortable with to be a
Oh yeah,
comic.
I have the sickness. If I don't talk into a microphone, yeah, I mean it might become a problem for me. I'm gonna be on like YouTube doing lives or whatever.
Oh,
Like I need to do it, you know.
yeah.
But it was interesting because after I'd become not homeless and settled into a roommate situation, I went to an open mic and this guy was there and he was just sharing about how he had to go to the soup kitchen with his son. And to me, it was very real. I was locked in. I was like, yes, you and me, I'm with you. But everyone else was super cringy because it's like, what are these topics we don't speak about? I'm like, why not? There's like millions of homeless people right now in this country and around the world.
Yeah,
Like, are
but
we just
again,
not going to look? And we don't look at them, they won't exist. They'll disappear. That's not
that's
how it works.
and that will I'm guilty of that 100% too because we look at comedy or look at any other live performance when people need to hone their craft a lot because for the most part most people's interaction with live performances, live art is through TV, mainstream media, and it's already polished, right? It's already
Mm-hmm.
like that neat 5 minute set or 45-minute special that has been honed for 6 months before it graduates to a record, and then that's it. um Nobody see though. Not a lot of people see the fumbles. Not a lot. A lot of my friends are performers. They fuck
Oh,
up a lot.
I love that. I love that actually, but I'm interrupting you because I have the ultimate thing in my back pocket all the time because I can just be like, guys, I have a disability. They do not heckle me. I've never been heckled in my life. I'm very lucky. I mean, you can heckle me, I can handle it, but people feel guilty that I'm disabled and I capitalize on that all the
But
time.
it's not really about the heckling. I think the scarier part is the silence when you don't have
I
any
I
interaction
don't
to jokes.
Yeah, but I don't that doesn't happen to me either because they either feel bad for me or they just want to be on my team. You know what I
That's
mean?
good. That's
If a
great.
little kid with disability comes in,
You're
you like
rooting
want
for
to be
that.
on their team. You
You're
want to
rooting for
cheerlead
that
them. Like
person.
it's exactly this is the gift that the universe gives me over and over again. People don't want to hate me, which is great.
That
I
is
love it.
again, even just hearing those particular words is just it's inspiring because like I tell a lot of people too. It's like my calling card is I've always been lucky with friends. I have more friends than I truly deserve. Most of them are pretty decent people. I have a couple of like oh my god, we need that. We need those fuckers. We need a couple of
Hmm.
fuckers there. But for the most part, most of my friends are great. I have a lot of them. They're good people. I've always felt supported. Um, but in the end, I rarely do I hear that. Like rarely do I hear like they want to be my team. It's like I was like that's pretty cool. So stand up is doing well. But we also want to educate people how to work on their craft. How do you work on sets? How do you craft jokes? Is it just like stream of consciousness? Do you have do you write it down? Do you have a test group? How does it work?
So me personally, I like to utilize the audio function on my phone, like voice notes.
Mm-hmm.
So if I think of something, I'll just make a voice note. Because if I have to spend time finding paper and pen, I'm not going to write it down.
Yeah.
You know. But I have friends. Like there's no wrong way to do it. I have literally my friend who will write legal page, like legal pad. She'll just sit and just write and write and write. The whole thing will be full, like in a day, like, you know. So that's her method. And for me, I talk about myself, my experience of having a disability, who I'm dating, whatever. You know, there's other comedians that do like topical, like what's going on in the world today, you know. Um, there's other comics that do impressions, like, or they do music. Like you can do whatever. The point is, what's really I guess functional in all of that is that you have to what your first step is that you have to come up with what's called a tight 5. So it's 5 minutes of jokes that hit. And how you find that is you figure out. So my recommendation personally, if you're going to ask me, is to figure out which comics you personally like the best. Do you like Kevin Hart? Do you like my personal favorite, Maria Bamford? Or somebody that passed away that I really love, Mitch Hedberg, you know?
Oh.
Do you like George Carlin? Whatever. Whoever you like, watch them. Because if you like that person, that's probably similar to what your comedic style is anyway. It might not be. You might just be a fan of them. But anyway, first of all, figure out what your comedic style is. And through watching the people that you like, you'll discover what that is. And then 5 minutes is literally just 5 jokes. So write down what you think is funny, put it together. And then the scariest part is you have to go to an open mic and test these out. Yeah. So a lot of comedy is me going to open mics, testing the jokes. Yeah. However, if you're in New York City, the open mics are literally just full of comics and the other comics are going to judge you. And so you will not get the same response at an open mic that you will in front of a crowd. Yeah. And this might be I might be judged for saying this, but like there's a lot of, you know, you don't really make money in comedy unless you have a name. And so there's like what's called bringer shows where you have to bring a certain amount of people to perform. And so basically the producers and the bookers make the money and you don't. So I'm not saying don't do those, but I'm just saying try to avoid the extra sharky ones because it's hard to get stage time in New York City. And I'm recognizing that. But your best bet is to go, if you really want to do comedy, go to open mics every day. There's, well, obviously not right now, but when things open up again, every day go because these are the people, your peers are the ones that are going to get you the gigs down the line. So you get to know them. Yeah.
And inspiration wise, where do you draw them?
Oh, I love Maria Bamford. I love Maysoon Zayed. She's a comic with cerebral palsy. There's Josh Blue, comic with cerebral palsy. A lot of them have cerebral palsy, you know.
So you do like personal experiences that is like not necessarily derivative, but you know, inspired by other comics, and then you mishmash it in your own ingredient. And then
well,
comes out.
They're not me, obviously, but I mean, Maria Bamford, for example, is very open about her mental health struggle. You know what I mean? I just love real comics who talk about real life. Like when I was living in Portland, one of my favorite comics, I can't remember his name, he just made me laugh so hard because of his descriptions of like, he was like, I really can't keep a job because I hate working. And so he had this amazing description of being fired by this boss who ended up comforting him while he was being fired. And then he ended up comforting her because she started crying. And I was just like, this is brilliant. Like the way he was, everybody was like on the floor laughing.
It's amazing.
And I'm just like, and then one of the local, I mean, shout out to Joey Tepetino. I don't know if you're going to listen to this, but like he has a great bit about having OCD and like trying to go to the grocery store and just being like, I have OCD. So I have to check if I have to check if the light's on. Is the light on? Is the light off? I have to check if the door's locked. Is the door locked? Is the door not locked? I have to, even though I can see the cat on the couch, I have to go physically put my hand on the couch. Is the cat on the couch? The cat is on the couch. You know what I mean? So like he can't leave his house because he keeps having to, are the curtains on the radiator? It's just like, I was dying laughing when I heard this. It's just like such a brilliant description of his experience with OCD and like how it prevents him from doing seemingly regular tasks, you know, in a timely manner.
What would be your top topics during your sets? What do you talk about the most?
Oh, me obviously is having cerebral palsy is always discussed. Okay. Who I'm dating, who I've just broken up with. Sorry, I am one of those comics that if you date me, you will end up in my.
That's part. You know, that's called the severance package.
Yeah, and then obviously I talk about other people with disabilities and my view of them and their view of me. Like I had this. I need to bring it back because there was this, and having an able-bodied twin sister who I need to kill. So so yeah, so it's like there's levels. So usually if I have a crowd that's like a lot of them are LGBT, I'm like, you know, guys, you know how in the LGBT community there's a lot of judgment towards each other. It's like that in the disability community. Like, for example,
Huh.
I went to a disability meetup and most of the people were more severely disabled than me by a lot, and they were sharing stories about how they were having trouble buttoning themselves up or using the bathroom or whatever, and I'm sitting there like, huh, I can't tell these people that I went running with my dog this morning, can I? And so, yeah. And so I just tell the story. And you know what they tell me, crowd? They tell me to get the fuck out.
Oh my god. Oh, Mela. All right, so we've discussed we've discussed a milieu of topics. But we want to end with what this podcast is different among most, which is not really, because it's weird because are um video medium, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm gonna do now, you're not seeing this, but
Oh, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We didn't talk about my Patreon because we got cut
we're gonna
off.
end with that. I want to end with that.
Oh,
We're
okay.
gonna
Yeah,
sandwich
yeah.
this first. So you're not
Okay, cool.
seeing this right now, but what I'm gonna do is for the YouTube viewers out there, you are gonna see. Um, um, I ask my guests to send me their favorite photo. I'm pretty vague with it. I don't say number. If it's a photo of them, their photo that they took, or just a random photo or an image. Just like, hey, send me your favorite photo. Boom, we'll discuss it. Um, and right now I'm showing it. So you are on stage with a mic, right
Yeah, I'm
hand
actually
out.
wearing the same shirt and
Oh,
sweater on
perfect.
purpose. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Let
yeah.
me see. There
So there's
you
a
go.
picture of me, and the reason why it's my favorite is because I didn't know it was being taken.
Oh,
Actually, that was the night. It was in December. I was at the Duplex at a show we were doing. A Duplex is like that famous gay club in New York. Not,
West
it's on
Fourth.
Christopher Street. It's
Mm-hmm.
close to. Anyway, point is, another one of the comics had a photographer friend in the audience. None of us knew this. I didn't even know this till after the show. She was like, "Hey, my friend took photos of everyone," and like he's famous, you know. So like he puts all these photos. I'm like, oh my god, they're all really good.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
that's why that one's my favorite.
It looks great. I mean, for the audio listeners, I'm just gonna describe it real quick. You're in your flannel vest,
Hmm.
striped sweatshirt underneath.
And this shirt, yeah,
You
it's
were
a shirt.
literally wearing the same thing.
I know. I thought for show and tell it'd be good.
That's
My
pretty
flannel
amazing.
vest, yeah.
Red pants. You have
Mhm.
your thick rim glasses, talking into the mic. I mean, technically, it's a great shot. It's for again audio listeners. The link to the photo and the description of all of this will be in the description below on your podcasts. For the video viewers, you can see it. But yeah, technically it's sharp. Well, it's sharp, which is great. You're on the right third of a landscape photo. Exposure is great because we see you cleanly, but because you are in light or there's a spotlight on you, most of the other thing is dark. It's a little bit of like a foreground thing happening with probably an audience member. So it's great. So this is your favorite photo because it was a special gig or because a famous photographer shot it. Why is this your favorite photo?
Well, yeah, but well, it's because I didn't know that I was
Yeah.
being taken to, and it was at a professional show,
Mm.
and I was also sick as a freaking dog. I didn't
Yeah.
coronavirus was not in the country at that time, so you can't blame me. I'm just saying I was very ill when that
Oh.
photo was taken, so I'm like, wow, I still look amazing in this photo, even though I'm about to die, literally. So,
Well, you do look
like,
amazing.
literally, one day after that photo was taken, I'm at my friend's house on the Central Park West, and like it's the weekend, and I'm just like I can't get up, and I have a lot of great friends, and so they just like fed me soup, and I ate like
Oh.
Dayquil, and like didn't get out of their bed for 24 hours.
Well, well. Thank you for sharing this photo. I like it because it's you in your natural state. It's candid. I love candid shots. I also like very isolated shots, so you can really see the subject. So it's really good. Let's get whoever shot this, and we'll credit them after to make sure that they're being shout out. But For the person that took this, you are a pro. Congratulations, sir. And I'm glad that you made it to Mela's favorite shot.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I can't remember their name right now. I feel so bad. Like I would navigate away because they're actually tagged on my Instagram. If you want
mhm.
to just quickly, if you have another browser,
Yeah. Well,
they're tagged on that photo.
yeah,
I feel bad. You're so great.
we'll credit you for sure. We'll do it post, but thank you very much for taking that photo of Mela. How was the show? It was good. Kill.
Oh yeah, the show is great. I mean, the person that books it is his name is Sibtain Raza.
Hmm.
I think that's his real first name and last name. Originally his parents are originally from Pakistan.
Hmm.
We also met at an open mic, so
Oh,
there you go.
awesome.
Like he became friends with me on Facebook, and like we talked comedy and whatever, and that's how I got this gig. And he's great.
Awesome.
He books that show.
Awesome. I shall navigate away from your photo now and go back to our full screen discussion. We're all towards the tail end of the episode, and we have a few more fun topics to discuss. But how long has comedy been? How is it treating you? Do you have regular gigs
So
or
yeah, I've been doing comedy on and off for 14 years, long
a
time.
long time?
And like what I say is that, and I haven't really, honestly, for me, I haven't really been applying myself to it
Mm.
until recently. But like I said, with anything that's your thing that you like to do, just keep doing it. And like I think I was listening to a thing or another one of your podcast episodes where you're like, you might have roadblocks, or you might stop, you might step away, or it might change. I totally agree with that. Like I love doing comedy, and it doesn't matter to me that I haven't quote unquote made it yet. You know what I mean? Like I always love going to the open mics and doing the shows, and you just can't give up. That's
Yeah,
the thing with anything that you like doing. You can't give up.
and
You just
and
have to keep doing it.
and that's the thing about I do this podcast for myself mostly, but for the six other listeners because um, most people that have a passion, unfortunately, will never be great at it.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, there's
But
very
like, what's great to you?
the
Like, are they famous? Do you have a lot of money in the bank? Do they have a
what
following? Like, what's that?
whatever this qualification great will be for that particular person. I mean, I love basketball. Basketball, my passion. I will never be even remotely be good in a rec league. But
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good
Yeah, I understand what
and
you're
I love
saying.
it. Um,
Yeah, I like to run,
yeah,
but you're gonna lap me. Most people will lap me. I
but
still like doing it.
and that's the thing with a passion, and that's why we celebrate the people that becomes even above average successful with it. Like you still had a professional show at the duplex with other comedians in a real bar, and you've been doing it for a regular. And some people that's not even close to being successful, but to some people that is leaps and bounds beyond what
Yeah, no,
they could
totally. If
even
I
do.
just did comedy at this level for the rest of my life, I would be happy because really the drive for me is to get up talking to a microphone in front of a crowd of people. Like that fulfills me.
Exactly. And
Of course, but Netflix could also call me. I'm not going to say no to
100%.
them.
Like I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I post stuff on my Instagram, sometimes I get a little depressed because I have an account for my cat at per the whiskey PURRWHISKY. Every time I post a photo of her, she gets 3 times the likes that my actual professional shots get. And sometimes that's very depressing because like
But people love cats,
I know,
though.
but like I spent a considerable amount of time and money and practice honing my craft, and then my fucking cat beats me out, and she barely does anything, and I shoot her with my phone. But
I
on
know,
the
but there's a Netflix show called "Don't Fuck with Cats,"
that's
literally.
true, and there's also the Meowvie,
Yeah, the
Me-
Meowbie. Yeah.
Meowvie, which I actually saw, which is pretty fun and sad. But I mean, nothing's gonna stop me with my photography. And if I get 5 likes on a photo, that rewards me because I know that the photo in my eyes is good. And
Mhm.
also, as long as the subject is happy, I'm happy too. So as long as those two are satisfied, that pushes me onward to just keep on doing it because I mean, it's a passion because you have to do it. If you can start and stop, that's not a real passion. That's not a real craft. Yeah, you're not a real artist if you, "Oh, I'm gonna try sculpture for 2 weeks, and if you stop, that's not your passion then. But
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah,
You absolutely agree. You
yeah,
have to be driven to do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, combining my passion with yours, I wanted to end the podcast with the last leg of your income source of many. So
Mhm.
tell the people about your Patreon.
Yeah, so I have a Patreon, which is www.patreon.com /stand up psychic. So my website is also standuppsychic.com. So it's just the same.
So that's your brand, stand up
Um,
psychic.
yeah, my stand up psychic is my thing. So it's nude photos and videos, depends on what tier you want.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I also have a Snapchat where I send you the videos and like, yeah, it's pretty fun. And like, I also used to do sex work in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm so interesting. So I love, and
You
I would
are.
do
That's why.
like professional dominatrix work, and like people would pay me to like rub or to clothe female naked males when I did a lot, where basically you keep all your clothes
Mm-hmm.
on and then the guy gets undressed and like you can be verbally mean to, it's whatever they want. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just, you know what I mean? And then there was another guy who was a pilot who would pay me a bunch of money to let me, he would buy me stuff from American Apparel, literally not a joke, and then rub my legs until he came. And this was what actually happened. I was not unclothed. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do within the
Mm-hmm.
mind that isn't even penetration or even taking clothes
Yeah.
off. And so I found this to be very fun and fulfilling. So um, and then I was like, oh, Patreon, like I don't have to do anything with people or be anything around people that I don't want to be, and I can like share the content. Not that I don't like people, but you know,
Yeah.
there's STDs out there. You got to be
No, I
careful.
mean, but it's like it's also convenient. You can do it in the comfort of your home, and you're broadening your client base per se. But
Yeah,
I mean, you're
totally.
it's. Let's just run this down for it's gonna be super weird if somebody just hopped onto the podcast at this point and describing like you are you are a
Run this down. I'm a professional psychic
psychic.
and medium. I talk to dead people and
Cool.
people who've passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a professional stand up comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Patreon, which is where I share nudes and videos of myself and
And
also my stand up gigs. And I'll share a link to this podcast on there. So
100.
it has all that. It's like Mela Shea is sharing comedy, nudes, podcasts, etc.
And you have cerebral palsy.
And I have
You
cerebral palsy. Yeah.
you you have been homeless.
Mm-hmm.
You struggled with a traumatic past but got past it.
Mm-hmm.
You dabble in the psychedelics,
Yeah.
but in a very safe scientific way that helped you get through said
That
troubles.
helps me, like, you know, troubleshoot my complex PTSD because of horrible childhood.
So this is
Yeah.
what this is what I try to forward to people all the time is like y- everybody is interesting to somebody. Like, and then
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned it yourself. Like you've never had a problem people dating you or getting clients with this kind of work. And it's it's not necessarily about where people are, what people do, how people look, what they have, what they don't have. It's just the energy. You're just putting
Yeah,
it
it's
out
like,
there.
don't be afraid to be yourself because you're the only you.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? There's like that thing where somebody's talking to you and you have this urge to look behind yourself because you're like, they can't be talking to me. They're talking to the person behind me. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, it's you. It's
Yeah.
been you the whole time. Like, if you can just accept that you live within this body and this is the one that you have, you know what I mean? Like, because I have cerebral palsy, yes, I hated myself for a long time, but when I got to the point where I'm just like, just accept all of it, accept your skin bag, accept your hair, accept that your eyes don't work. I also have intermittent exotropia. My eyes work independently of each other. They're gecko eyes, you know? I really don't give a fuck. Like, the more that you can say, like, okay, this is me and I don't give a fuck, like, take it or leave it, the more you will expand yourself and make a lot more money and be passionate. You know what I mean? Like, that's really the origin of that. Like, if I can say, if you don't want to listen to me, literally go on this website called KanyeOnfidence.com. I think it's still up.
Kanye
It's literally quotes of Kanye West talking about how great he is.
for
So, yeah.
for a bit before Kanye became crazy. When
Yeah.
Kanye
Before
was
he became
Kanye,
crazy.
my favorite quote was like Kanye was in that building where Chappelle was recording his show way back when.
Yes, the story. I love that story. Are you
And
gonna tell that story? Oh my
I
god, I
know,
can't.
well,
Oh my god,
people
tell the
should
story.
YouTube
The story
Dave
that
Chappelle,
Chappelle tells about Kanye,
Kanye.
isn't? Are you gonna tell?
I
Yeah,
don't want to
where
tell
he's
because I
like,
don't want to ruin it for people who hasn't seen it. But I'm gonna share the quote
yeah,
because I've
tell.
for the most part. So look up Dave Chappelle interview talks about Kanye, and then he has a pretty amazing story about a young Kanye, or surrounded by
Yes, I love.
amazing
He's
hip
just gonna
hop
tell the
artists.
story.
But
He's like Kanye's on the phone. He's like, "Cause I'm dope and I do dope shit."
that is
Correct? Yes. There you
the
go.
energy that we want to live by. Not all the time. I'm not the type of person that
Well,
will.
no, don't be arrogant,
Again, I
right?
don't.
That's the thing. Like,
I
be humble.
I
Don't be
support. Yep,
arrogant,
yep.
but just like accept yourself. You know what I mean? This is about not living in the ego, but living in the self.
I I
That's what
su-
I mean. Like, I'm not going around being like, I'm so great and I'm better than you.
no,
I'm going around being like, I'm great and you are also great, and we'll
yes.
be great together.
I am a big believer in moderation. I'm also a big believer in celebration. So if you have something to celebrate, celebrate it. But don't, if you do it too much, regardless of what your intention is, it will come off as rubbing it in people's faces. So
Hmm.
celebrate your wins. Ask help if you have losses. But for the most part, just moderate. You can be high sometimes. You can be low sometimes. You can't experience the change in slope if you're always up top, and you can always
Exactly.
you don't want to be at the bottom all the time because you wouldn't want to know you wouldn't realize how high you can soar if you're always at the bottom. So do yeah if the time that you can realize that you have a good life, if somebody asks you, hey, how come you're at that place, and then you can answer, because I am dope and I do dope shit.
Yes, there you go.
That is the time. We're getting I mean, I totally
I think we've
appreciate your
talked like a
time.
long time,
It's
but I
probably gonna
loved
be
it.
an hour and a half podcast, but that's hey, we have the Cordova virus, we have the Carmela virus, this COVID-75 virus out that
What
you're
up?
shut down.
COVID-19,
You
huh?
know, you know,
We're
people
stuck
are
indoors.
yeah, we're you all everybody has been inundated with that, so hopefully we can provide a little bit of entertainment. But as we close down, you know, our last topic is our Patreon. Tell us about the weird shit that you post there. Entice
Mm,
people to go on it and support you.
yeah, so it's mostly nudes. Like, I'm actually, literally, right after I get done with you, I'm gonna go to my boyfriend's house and we're gonna make some quality content for the
Dude,
Patreon. So I'm not joking. It's like videos of us like having sex, and like maybe we'll do a spanking video, and
dude.
like maybe I'll get out the nipple clamps. You never know. It's
Yeah.
all fun times. I'm gonna bring my vibrator. I need to get a butt plug though. I'm not. It's not just nudes.
It's
So
it's it's full
whatever
on action.
videos will be, if you want to subscribe to the level where you get the videos, you're gonna have to give me your Snapchat handle because I send them to your Snapchat. If you don't do Snapchat, you can do WhatsApp. But it's I really get into it because I enjoy it and I enjoy my body and I think I'm hot. So it's a
And
fun time.
like further enticement to people to subscribe to your Patreon or support you, become a Patreon at patreon.com/standupsychic. What has been the weirdest thing that you've done for the patrons out there?
I don't. I think that's an interesting question, but I don't think anything's weird. You know what I mean? It's just the body. But
I'm
probably
sure
people
I'm
who
sure there
want like
is like a
custom videos of like pee stuff or
hmm,
like yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'll do it.
cool.
The only thing I really won't do is like kill bugs
No,
because
no.
some people are into bug crushing. But sorry,
What?
won't do
Oh,
it.
okay, yeah, it's all right. Okay, I realize
Yeah.
that you can't yuck anybody's yum, but yeah, I'm all for golden showers. I'm a supporter of the water sports. I've been ridiculed
Mm-hmm.
by my other friends because we put it on blast on our other podcast. But hey, you like what you like. Uh, Mela, thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy with us. It's been a fun hour and a half. That's a
Yeah.
long
No,
pod.
I've had so much fun.
And again, this was no prep. no nothing. I
Yeah, he literally just messaged me and he's like, "Hey, you want to come on my podcast?" And I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it."
I'll cut this up real quick. I'll do a little bit of leveling to make sure that the audio is primo because I don't half-ass things. I full-ass everything.
You
So
full
I
ass it, yeah.
full-ass it. So I jerry-rigged my traditional podcasting rig to go online because we are still trying to be socially distant. But again, you can be socially distant but emotionally close. There's so many ways you
Hmm.
could still do that, and there's other amazing content out there that hopefully people will support. But start with us by subscribing to Fun Street Podcast, available on all of your favorite podcasting applications around the world. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, all those fun things. Please support Mela Shea, standupsychic.com for her psychic services. And you're in Eastern Pennsylvania right now. So if you're in the
Yeah,
area,
Easton, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
so
So,
if you're in the area and
and then
want
I'm on Twitter at Mela Shea, and then I'm on Instagram at Mela Shea One. You know, and the
MELA
page
SHEA,
MELASHEA,
and
right?
and
And
the
then
Patreon is
patreon.com/standupsychic.
perfect.
Yay.
Again, go on Patreon, subscribe even at the dollar, $5
Yeah, you can have
levels.
$1, $5, $10, $25. You know, there's a lot of like they're not gonna bankrupt you.
Yeah, it's
The
gonna be
most
fun.
I have is 150, but you get personal video requests just sent directly to you at that level.
Oh,
So,
all right. So I'm gonna save up for that $150 request. I
ooh,
hope you do, guys, as well. Again, subscribe. Um, like, comment, share all the good things about the Fun Street podcast. This is an irregularly scheduled podcast, but because we are forced to be in a lockdown, and I was forced to set up my remote recording station. I'm anticipating more pods coming up in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, it helps you during that time. And if you like what you're hearing, the podcast is at Fun Street Podcast, both on Instagram and on Twitter. Comment, share, send us questions if you want anything. If you want to ask Mela or any of my other previous guests additional questions, we'll do that in the future time. Email us at funstreetpodcast@gmail.com if you want to be on the show, be a producer, give us some topics to talk about. And my personal stuff is at EL_JONG. That's at L Jong on the Twitter, on the Instagrams. You'll see photos of beautiful women inside
they're
and
great.
out. And that's the thing. They're
Yeah.
I'm very happy that most of my subjects are way prettier on the inside than on the outside. So
Aw,
that's
so
just
great.
says a lot of the people that I am just very lucky to be around with. Again, Mela, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time, and thank you to the listeners. We love you.